get the Force Spirits on Invoker, and then use the Gyrocopter more so for the threat of call down, rather than how they're using the Luna, which is, actual damage output versus those structures, which Gyrocopter can do, but certainly to a lesser extent. This is another chance, though, for Team Spirit to get in under these lanes. It is going to be a little bit more difficult since Gyrocopter is, I think, just naturally stronger than Luna in lane, especially. So maybe a little bit more difficult for Spirit, but I don't really know if Spirit can actually, with their IO, go for an even more aggressive draft than what Elements can put together. So it's going to be Spirit trying to outlast and Elements trying to crack in super early. In that regard, I do like the Undying pick. It's right in the Elements' comfort zone, and it's also going to enable them to just push in pretty much nonstop.
Yeah, and I think that him being banned out and the bristleback, it just shows how dangerous all these heroes would be in one of those matchups. I mean, for me, particularly the bristleback seems to be something that if Team Spirit ran that, maybe you can actually sort of out DPS the amount of damages, because he's going to be able to probably soak up one of those call downs. Maybe less so a rocket barrage, particularly because Gyrocopter might be able to get around him. But it's feeling like that is, I mean, with what I was able to bring to the table, you have to take care of these, really tanky heroes who can soak up all of that damage in the early game, because otherwise that timing push that we've been talking about becomes so much less effective. The Slardar is also going to be banned, as well as the Bane, and they're going to go back for the Vengeful Spirit. So possibly and probably a core here, as we're already a decent way through, and we're going to be able to see Elements go back for that Oracle now. The hero that, if you know how to play him, he seems very, very strong indeed.
I'm not sure about this Vengeful Spirit. If they have some sort of way to capitalize off of a play stun, I think it gets a lot better. It's kind of mediocre with an IO, definitely not as explosive as IO Tiny, really nowhere close to it. Vengeful Spirit core, usually you want to pick that up if you're going to be the one on the aggressive side, and you want to be really, really aggressive with it. Team Spirit, again, aren't really in a great position to do so. As far as abusing the Gyrocopter in lane, Magic Missile into some sort of damage combo is potentially pretty potent, but they would need someone like a Lina or some high damage hero like that to really capitalize off of that play stun. Yeah, I feel like Vengeful Spirit and IO just kind of naturally on opposite sides of the fence, unless you have an IO and a Tiny or something like that. And Vengeful Spirit is, safe lane completely by herself or with someone who's kind of more so on the roam. But now the Oracle's picked up. We have a CK in response for Team Spirit. Can they actually out aggressive Elements? It seems really hard, but maybe possible if they do well in their lanes.
I mean, they have a lot of stuns. That's the part of it that I feel like works pretty well potentially in terms of being very aggressive. And I mean, Magic Missile, really decent cooldown. If you take a look at it, it scales down to 10 seconds by level 4, and you're going to be able to get several points in that, probably along with that Vengeance Aura, to increase the damage of all the heroes all around you. Maybe you end up seeing something else like a last pick Beastmaster again, and all of a sudden this lineup, while it might not scale incredibly well into the late game, you could still sort of fall back a little bit on that Chaos Knight more so than you would other heroes, and maybe you end up coming online that much more quickly with all of your other heroes here. I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see something really crazy come out like that. I mean, with how effective it worked last game, that's Chaos Knight, and I mean, Io, while you are still not going to be able to bring a ton to the table as far as like creating a ton of pressure yourself, you make every other hero around you that much more strong and that much more difficult to kill. So really it's like it gives you an item advantage in a certain way with getting that overcharge early. Earthshaker, a pretty decent answer to CK, and Oracle being pretty good for being able to keep heroes alive like the Gyrocopter and the Invoker once the push starts to happen. But I do think that there's something here for Team Spirit where they might be able to hit a timing window before Gyrocopter gets his BKB, where they're going to be really effective.
I think a big question of this for Team Spirit is how much can they pressure this Earthshaker, who for Elements I'm expecting to go towards a lane by himself, played by Yoku, and that is a lane that you can very easily abuse. A Beastmaster you mentioned is going to have a great matchup there if it is going to be selection for Team Spirit, but shutting down and really feeding off of an Earthshaker will fuel Team Spirit's mid-game play by so much, and it's probably the easiest lane to abuse there. Also worth noting for Elements is that though they do have the Invoker, they don't have the Undying partnership, which really was doing some serious work against the IOCK lane in the last game. You would have to have an Oracle there, I suppose, who isn't terrible, not by any stretch, versus the Chaos Lane IO, but I'm not quite sure offers the same level or the necessary levels of offensive power that the Undying did last time. So this might be an even worse lane for the Invoker, and the elements this time have so many great answers to the Chaos Knight, Gyrocopter, and Earthshaker especially, that if they fail to lock down and control the Chaos Knight for a second game in a row, it might start getting close to ban territory.
Yeah, definitely. And they are going to, at least for now, take on out this Beastmaster. And CK, with the sort of slew of buffs he's gotten over a period of time, you start to wonder now if he's going to fit his way into the meta. The thing I will say about the Oracle is that he'll maybe be able to keep you alive better than the Undying did. Undying, I felt like, was keeping the or the IOCK alive much more so by virtue of the pressure and the sort of the danger that he would give by like being in the lane and being able to throw on down that tombstone. You saw him kill off the IO a couple of times, but they just weren't able to burst through the CK. This time around, it feels like it's much more, all right, Oracle's going to try and not focus on getting kills on these heroes if they try and jump in, but instead trying to keep this Invoker alive. And with the Fate's Edict being able to block away the damage, I mean, you can see that stun coming from a little ways away, and then afterwards you can throw on that heal. It no longer increases the damage that gets dealt. So, okay, so they might actually end up being going for a last pick mid silencer here instead of going for the CK mid. This actually feels really freaking strong against the Invoker. Last word in combination with like a Tusk roaming into that lane, that is an easy freaking kill on the Invoker, as long as they have Dust or something else to be able to reveal him. If we do end up seeing the Tusk roam around, and I feel like we might, because this is looking like it might end up, well, or a Vengeful Spirit. They can do a lot of things here for Team Spirit.
They have so many options right now. Like even offensive tri-laning, trying to pressure this Gyrocopter is something that they can do depending on the last pick here from Elements. Chaos Knight, Vengeful Spirit, and IO, it's non-traditional to say the least, but you have so much stun duration there. You have enough time to just beat him down, and since there are going to be a couple heroes there, the Rocket Barrage's threat is going to be significantly decreased, and you'll have Tusk going up against an Earthshaker. It's perfectly fine for a Tusk. In fact, a very good lane for him. Why is the thing not going down? Seems like screen is disconnected. So Elements are going to get, I guess, a little bit of extra time to think about their last pick. But yeah, Team Spirit can run offensive tri-lane. Can they get away with like a Vengeful Spirit Tusk dual lane and Chaos Knight IO dual lanes? They could probably get away with that as well. Or it might not even be a Silencer mid. It might just be a Silencer safe lane versus an Earthshaker with still the Chaos Knight and IO. I don't know. It's a guessing game for Elements, and I don't really see, with their existing heroes, Elements getting an upper hand in the lanes, no matter what the lanes look like for Team Spirit.
I think that they left their draft very open with the first 4 picks, and then they could really go whichever way they wanted to with the last one. And they probably have an idea of what they want to do right now, but it's still fluctuating, and they still can run it kind of whatever they want based upon Elements' last pick here. In my eyes, at least, it seems to make a lot of sense to have somebody who can roam into the mid lane and kill the Invoker, and I don't think that has to be CKIO this time. I really like the Silencer Invoker matchup, and we've seen Iceberg run Silencer a couple of times to really great effect, so I think that seems to make sense to me. And then a CKIO, either dual lane or a tri-lane with the Vengeful Spirit. The last pick here is a Witch Doctor. They need somebody to be able to keep a little bit of pressure off of these lanes, and yeah, it is going to be Ramses who's going to be picking on up that CK, and Vengeful Spirit on the played by Goldblack. So Iceberg Silencer, this to me makes a lot of sense here. The thing that I was a little bit wondering about, and I'm still somewhat curious about, is are we going to see the Vengeful Spirit and Tusk dual lane together? And if they do end up running that, I think that might be really strong. Get up a decent amount of experience on them, and then roam into the mid lane. Something that we would occasionally see was going for a Spirit Breaker comboed up with a Silencer, and then you ended up having a ton of ganking potential in the mid lane, and they basically, I think that it was Team Spirit that ran it, they basically just killed the Invoker over and over again, because every time Spirit Breaker would charge in, they just ended up laying down Last Word on the Invoker, and he was just dead. It didn't matter what the heck he did. And I feel like something along those lines where you stun up the Invoker while this is all going on would be really great. Good Game is going to run into a couple of heroes now, but I really like Team Spirit's draft.
Yeah, it's so extremely versatile, and for Elements, it seems like they're almost going to be forced to be on the responsive end, not necessarily versus like a super aggressive push or anything like that, but just how the lanes break down. Elements, they have the last pick Witch Doctor. It's perfectly fine versus the IO. A great hero to have versus that Chaos Knight later on. Those cask bounces are so damn annoying to deal with. So, and in offering some decent power to the lanes, if he's going to be joining the Invoker or the Gyrocopter, really either one, you can find a lot of success within those particular lanes. But I don't know, it just seems like these lanes from Team Spirit, their flexibility and their ability to roam, especially with the Venge, the Tusk, eventually you'll have the IO bouncing around with someone else. That's going to be really difficult for Elements to deal with unless they are going to anticipate it beforehand. And that is, well, that's sometimes just almost impossible to do. Seems like right now it's just going to be, well, Tusk in the off lane and all the other lanes as per normal. The only question is, where is GoBlack going to end up? And I think I do like, at least trying to, for a little while, pressure the bottom lane.
And it, honestly, at least for now, oh my god, look at the amount of damage that's going to be dealt by it already. He just throws it on out there. Immediate Sunstrike, though, in response. And realizing the inherent danger of their situation, does not want to take extra damage. And maybe a little bit of frustration there as the Sunstrike came out immediately. But this spell is just so difficult to lane against. Is he actually going to...
No, he got the whole creep wave in there.
Oh my goodness. That is pretty nice right there, and it's going to help him out to get his levels up as well. So I actually don't see him roaming around as much. I'm pretty okay with it if they just keep the Vengeful Spirit there and then have the capabilities to get the stun off and keep on laying it out down on top of him. Earthshaker in the top lane, I don't think that they need to do a whole heck of a lot to rotate anybody to get kills there. They should be able to find it regardless. And you mentioned it, GoBlack's starting to show him up here and is going to be able to maybe potentially pressure this Oracle a little bit.
The IO didn't get the first bounty rune, so there's no bottle just yet on the IO, but still, this Earthshaker, just with one Reality Rift, is already down to half HP. There's not even the threat of Chaos Bolt yet, since CK just isn't level 2, but once that comes up, Shaker is going to have to hope that Fissure and Run Away is going to be good enough, and I'm not sure if it's always going to be the case. They're going to leave Iceberg in the mid lane by himself, and he's going to get shoved way back behind his tower. This is still a very dangerous lane for the Silencer. His range is, good enough to keep himself safe most of the time, but being run down if you get hit with the cask or something like that, and then Invoker Sunstrikes you, and not much counterplay available to Iceberg. So GoBlack, I think, is, even though he kind of wants to stay on this bottom lane and try to actively pressure the Gyrocopter, he is needed over in mid to make sure that their Silencer just doesn't get absolutely smashed.
Oh, and is he going to do it? Afterlife is going to be doing this side pull over here. This is something that you guys can try out in your pubs if you guys feel so inclined. But is he going to get it? I think he did. He got 3 of the creeps at least. It's really freaking good. Although, is the Hellbear Smasher going to die? No, it still stays alive. So keeping vision of it throughout the whole course of this is really important. And they're going to be able to pull it all the way back. And now the big one's going to be there too. So denying out experience as if Tusk needed another buff. The big thing though now, and you need to be careful about this, is that we do have the Earthshaker wrapping around from behind with the Invis rune, and I think that Silencer realized that this has happened because they spotted the Earthshaker picking it up, the IO did at least, and had to back on out. So they're going to be playing really safe here on Iceberg and just soaking up experience while the rest of the creep wave does end up getting pulled away and Tusk gets a little bit more experience.
This is, if you keep having Tusk run that type of play, this lane actually becomes a lot more interesting from Team Spirit because GoBlack is going to be kind of going into more of like a solo offlane Vengeful Spirit role, and Afterlife, usually the offlaner, is going to be played more so like a support now because he's just pulling and doing jungle things, and Vengeful Spirit does have to watch out if she gets hit with the Fortune's End and then gets Rocket Barrage. She's kind of durable, but not that durable. But this is actually a situation where the Tusk can get some experience by getting those pulls off, and the Vengeful Spirit also gets experience being in this bottom lane. It almost transforms this bottom lane into another safe lane for Team Spirit. And having a Vengeful Spirit farm up alongside a Chaos Knight and alongside a Silencer is so much to deal with and almost impossible for Elements to overcome in really any stage in the game. So they really have to put a stop to this, either through actively pressuring GoBlack back even further or figuring out what the hell Afterlife is up to. And I'm not really sure if they have the heroes to punish this.
Yeah, Oracle, much more that just the defensive support, and they might be able to potentially make something happen over here in the mid lane, try and force the Tusk away, but at least for now it's not happening, and about 2 creep waves are continuously getting taken away from here. A very frustrating spot indeed, and Vengeful Spirit constantly getting everything that she wants, and it's so hard for them to even come on up here and contest this. I mean, they're doing the pulls in their own jungle, but right now this Gyrocopter currently has really not been able to get the CS that he's wanted. He's still doing good because they're not able to pressure him away, but particularly with now essentially running kind of 4 cores. Although Venge doesn't have a ton of CS right now, she's getting a ton of levels. Like, the net worth lead isn't really indicative of how well this is going right now for Team Spirit.
The mid lane situation for Team Spirit is really looking rough. The Witch Doctor's presence with the Invoker is forcing Iceberg into a very low CS scenario. Maybe it's going to be good enough because they have the Chaos Knight farming up in the meantime, but we have Yoku rotating around Iceberg. I don't think they saw each other. This Shaker, level 2 with a sick helmet, by the way, is not really doing all that much. Even like passively pressuring the Silencer, it's not going to happen since he even places an Observer Ward to try to keep himself safe. This is Elements putting a lot of faith into the Invoker, and General's play last game was pretty darn good, but yeah, they are really now not answering this Chaos Knight at all, who's up towards top, and Io is level 4.5, so a couple more minutes in the jungle, and soon they'll be relocated to deal with, especially dangerous for this bottom lane. Iceberg is going to get jumped with the cask. Always Want to Fly, though, is there this time, and Iceberg can even return fire to a decent degree.
Yeah, now, like, this has just felt like a really great collection of timings. I mean, they keep the Vengeful Spirit in the mid lane to make sure that Iceberg gets enough levels in CS to get him off to a decent start. He's just going to be able to keep on right-clicking out this Invoker in the early stage of the game. Then they rotate the Vengeful Spirit in with the Tusk doing the pulls once Tusk gets level 2, so that way nobody can come and contest him. And then you come back and rotate on in the Io, because this whole time CK is getting everything that he wanted. And now they're going to roam on in here and try and find a kill. They are going to be able to go after King R. They throw out the stun, but with the rotation from the Earth Spirit, they need to be a little bit careful. They do end up getting off the shards. A lot of damage onto Ramses. It's going to go down. Not quite enough, as Golblack was already getting dove. And meanwhile, back in the mid game, they are going to be able to take on out the Invoker, but they're going to end up losing another here as Gyrocopter kills off the Venge. So 3-for-1 trade. What a freaking weird collection of engagements, and a pretty decent one right there for Elements.
A really good one for Elements. They get First Blood. They lose their Invoker. That sucks for sure, but they get so much on the bottom lane. And Silencer, I don't think... Yeah, Silencer dies, so he doesn't get any intelligence from that Invoker kill, which is even another small blow to the Team Spirit draft. They're trying to tango with the level 7 Gyrocopter, and now Iceberg over in mid lane again, getting hit with the Tornado. Cask is there as well as the right clicks. Cold Snap now being used, and EMP. Is that going to be lethal damage? Seems like it will. Invoker is going to grab another kill over in mid. That was, if that results in, if Team Spirit actually lose the game, I think that is what might have lost them the game, is that this CK teleported out and put himself in a really bad position where he is actually all by himself, so he took a full-on Rocket Barrage, and then the call down came up. Go Black already took a Rocket Barrage beforehand, so that was not a fight that Team Spirit should have had any business going into, yet they thought, I have a Chaos Knight, I have so much power with this one here that I can go ahead and kill you, and they were really, really wrong. So it was just a almost foolish move from Team Spirit to get into that fight in the first place.
Well, and I think that you feel that you're so much more strong because you've been able to get pretty much consistent CS, but the big thing has been that I feel like this Gyrocopter has too. They haven't been able to deny as much as you would have wanted. Snowball here is going to keep the Tusk safe for the time being, ends up going onto the creep wave, and really well played there. Meanwhile, on the top lane, they're going to dive on in here. Phantasm committed. They're going to start right-clicking down these heroes, but Invoker is here also. Ramses might end up going down off the back of this, and Cold Snap is going to kill him. Really not worth it for that Witch Doctor kill, and right now, Team Spirit just trying to be a little bit more aggressive than you might feel like you need to. I mean, yeah, it's true that Gyrocopter is a decent answer late game to this CK, but I still think that they were in a really good spot before this, and it's not necessarily that they're in a terrible spot right now, but a 3,000 gold lead at this stage in the game is really significant, and shooting up towards 1,000 experience also. For what felt like a really great start to this one, it's really sort of started to go off the rails a little bit. There's going to be the Vengeful Spirit. Oh, they're all rotating in. Global Silence is going to keep them alive for the time being, but is it really going to be enough? They throw down the ward. There's going to be the Fissure blocking them off. They do end up killing off Iceberg, and now the rotations are coming in, but it's not going to be in time. I don't believe that they're going to be able to find any kills off the back of this. Not level 6 yet on any of these heroes, and they're going to need to get the heck out of there. There's a Walrus Punch, actually, so that one does come out, but still not enough damage. The Cold Snap recommitted. Afterlife and Always Want to Fly are going to go down. They're going to lose 4. Oh, he actually still does end up going down there to the last little tick damage coming out from the Invoker. What a play.
What a lack of play from Team Spirit. They're really not working together at all. They used Global Silence to try to save... Iceberg used Global Silence to try to save himself. Unfortunately, oh, he's going to get jumped yet again. There's the stun from Fortune's End, EMP, Fissure, and Iceberg. He's gonna tie for the up-team time. That's 4 deaths now on the Silencer, who's already having a kind of tough time in lane. He uses Global Silence, fails to save himself because the cast comes out right beforehand. Then he just gets run down. Everyone else from Team Spirit trying to help out a hero who was already dead. And like, all of these are just small, very avoidable plays from Team Spirit, but it just seems like they think that they're a lot more powerful than they actually are. Like going for Illidan right now, like what GoBlack just did, is another testament to that. I don't think they can kill the Gyrocopter even after they have Walrus Punch on Tusk. If they try, they may just both end up dying.
And I feel like they have all of the pieces, even still, to be able to pull this back in the later stages, as long as they have pretty good and decent passive play. Oh God, they're going to try and be aggressive and pick up a kill here. I don't think that this is going to work out. I mean, maybe now that you have, well, they only have 1 point Vengeful Spirit, Aura, Io, the relocate on in. They're going to end up having the TP rotations, though. Call down is going to hit onto 3. There's also going to be a huge cask and the Witch Doctor ulti coming in. They're all going to end up dying. The relocate away, thankfully, is going to keep them alive for now, but the Io still dies to the Maledict, and everything is just going down right now as they were able to finish off the Tusk. My goodness gracious. The dives. The dives.
A little bit too much again from Team Spirit. That was that one was a little bit more understandable, I think, because they're like looking for a Hail Mary because they know that they're in a really crappy position. But going that deep up against a Gyrocopter who knows that you're there, because I'm pretty sure he saw that relocate bubble, and I'm pretty sure he like knew exactly what was going on when I mean, he wouldn't have called down otherwise. So you could expect the rest of Elements also knew what was happening. There would be TPs inbound. Spirits are feeling like they're on a really heavy tilt right now, and they just have to not be on tilt, and then they'll have at least a chance of coming back into this. But even then, their heroes are not good at fighting from behind. They're going to try to go for Yoko up towards top lane. Chaos Bolt is there, but double TP. Going to turn around for a Fissure onto Ramses. Cask is there as well. No relocate. Echo Slam is going to be committed, plus the Gyrocopter arriving. Cask still bouncing. Going to catch Always Want to Fly. What is Screen's luck right now? Is the IO fast enough to get out of this Gyrocopter's range? Nope, he's not. One more right click, and Illidan's going to grab that kill. And Ramses, are they just going to get Vision? No, it's only level 1 Sunstrike, so probably not going to be able to kill off the Chaos Knight. Guys, oh, Tornado. He's going to narrowly dodge it. That could have been a kill again, but yeah, Team Spirit, they can't even kill off the Earthshaker, who's, by the way, only 500 gold away from his Blink Dagger.
I think at this point you start thinking about just moving on to the next game. Like, you're right now at a 10k net worth lead, a 4,200 experience lead. Not necessarily that this game isn't salvageable, but in a best of 5, it's more important to be able to like maintain your non-tilt levels than it is necessarily to like win one individual game, because if you end up losing this one, you can still come back. You've got a game lead already. It ends up resetting to a best of 3. If you end up like playing this one out and just sort of growing more frustrated over time and kind of a little bit lose hope in it, it can maybe carry over into the next one. The only other thing that I could think about maybe is at this point trying to like regroup and get yourself together, make a good play, and then think about moving on. But I'm not sure. It still just feels like it's so hard at this point. And it's
if they called GG after that bottom lane dive, I wouldn't be surprised, just so that they could keep their minds from corroding like that.
Absolutely, but they're going to keep playing it out a little bit more. I don't know if it's necessarily all completely gone, but as you mentioned, all of these heroes really hard to come back into a game with, and it needs to be off the back of the kills. And I'm not sure if there's a great target at this point. I mean, you've got maybe the Witch Doctor, but if you get a Witch Doctor kill, is that really going to be enough? Right now, we've got Gyrocopter with a BKB as a first item. So maybe that's a little bit of a sign of good news here, that he's going to be going for something that's going to fall off in the later stages. So possibly you find a timing where Gyrocopter has a BKB and you're able to make it happen. But scribbling now occurring all over the map is they're going to run on into a CK again, and there's going to be Global Sounds committed. The EMP was already out, so no man on any of these heroes at all. Call down onto 3 of them. They're going to go down. Witch Doctor ulti committed. 3 heroes dead. Looks like they might potentially be able to find this Tusk off the back of it. Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know what Afterlife can do to get... Oh, there's actually no stuns here. Maybe he can teleport out? No, there's a Fissure, so he's actually just completely screwed. Oh, get the Courier? Get something, Afterlife. You need your team. Your team needs you to get something off of this. Oh, you gotta dodge a Tornado. And he's going to try to go for Yoku. Puts up a nice little fortress. Walrus Punch almost kills off the Shaker because of the Purifying Flames, but no, it results into absolutely nothing gained by Team Spirit. There's also an Orchid on the Invoker, and the BKB on the Gyrocopter means that Global Silence is not going to be doing that much to stop him, since you just purge it off or BKB it off, call down afterwards. Yeah, that was for a little bit of time, like a 3v1 versus or 3v2 or something like versus the Invoker. Probably the best that Team Spirit are going to find, but this is a level 11 hero we're talking about. It's not easy to 100 to 0 him, especially when the highest level on Team Spirit is like level 8.
I mean, yeah, it's a very, very rough situation at this point in time, and it doesn't feel like they have any of the instruments with which to make a comeback. And now you're kind of grouping together as 5. There's almost thousands of net worth lead equal to the same number of minutes that are in this game. That's at the situation that we're at, and not really looking to slow down at any given point in time. You do have to wonder at this stage, what is it the Team Spirit are opting to do? And I kind of, again, as we're going to see the Tusk get jumped on here, he's just the saddest little walrus that's ever lived. Oh,
he
no.
Couldn't even move.
It's so sad to watch. But, I mean, you think about last game, Team Spirit looked amazing, and the rotations were crisp and clean and well executed. This is definitely not what we were expecting in this one, and at least for myself, I think a really great answer here by Elements and showing, they've got a lot of resolve to keep the pressure up in this series and feel like they have what it takes to take it all the way. I would not expect the next game to be lost this handily, though, by Spirit when we do end up getting into the next one.
There was the mid lane scenario of, I think, the Invoker Witch Doctor that really messed up Team Spirit. They were depending on the Silencer to be able to hold his ground by himself in the mid lane, and that's why they left him over there alone. It clearly didn't work out, since he just is not going to win up against these two heroes. So again, Team Spirit, it kind of feels like they didn't have the right number of heroes in the right places. Illidan's on the front lines. If you try to go for him, he'll just pop BKB and turn around. Call down to Go Black. He's kind of stuck in the creep wave. Blink Fissure going to catch onto the Vengeful Spirit. They'll bring him down. Cost them a BKB charge, and maybe now Team Spirit can make something happen. They're going to jump in onto the Invoker. He's going to get a 4-second stun, but Ramses is completely out of mana afterwards. He's just going to get right-click down. They just don't have enough damage to kill off anyone here. King R is even going to start purging his buddies. They're going to try to go for Scream, but he gets hit with the Promise, and that will give him life. That's going to be GG. 22-2, as Team Spirit just get completely annihilated in this game.
Yeah, really devastating. Echo Slam, everything else. All right. 2-3-2. So sorry out there to all you folks. It was close. Regardless, we'll be moving on here into game 2 in just a second, as we are all tied up in this best of 5 in the MDL European qualifiers. Again, the winner of this series is going to be able to move on into the LAN, taking place early next year for the prize pool of $250,000. I've been Lyrical Dota. Co-caster is Mike Aloris. You can follow us on Twitter at